visa to come to Canada? If you do, you probably need a visa invitation letter. Though invitation letters are not requirements for all visa applications, it's better to have one ready than not. How to get a visa invitation letter for Canada? In order to get a visa invitation letter for your trip to Canada, you must know someone in Canada. This person can be a relative, but they can also be a friend or even just a friend of a friend or a friend of the family. Though we should state the obvious here, it's better to know the person inviting you well, as it will look better to the officer deciding your case. The person inviting you must have status in Canada, but can be a citizen or permanent resident. You must instruct the person writing your invitation letter to include the below information. Then they should send the letter to you so you can submit the letter with your temporary resident visa, visitor visa application. Please note, sometimes the visa office will request a notarized invitation letter. If you are from certain countries, it is a better idea to get the letter notarized ahead of time in order to avoid delays with your application. Step 1. Information about the visa applicant. The person writing the letter must include the following information about you, the person being invited to Canada. Your complete name including any middle names, your date of birth, your current address, the same one you are applying from, your telephone number where you can be reached, your relationship to the person inviting you, for example, friend, brother, sister, cousin, etc. The purpose of your trip to Canada, such as tourism, visiting family, etc. How long you plan to stay in Canada, where you will stay in Canada, such as with the invitee or at a specific hotel, and how he or she will pay for things. And finally, when you plan to leave Canada. Step 2. Information about the Canadian. The person inviting you must include this information about themselves. Their complete name including any middle names, their date of birth, their permanent address in Canada and a telephone number at which they can be reached, their job title in Canada, their status in Canada, for example, citizen or permanent resident, proof of their status in Canada, photocopy. For citizens, if the person was born in Canada, Canadian birth certificate or citizenship certificate. If the person naturalized is a Canadian citizen, swore the oath, Canadian citizenship certificate. For permanent residents, PR card. If they do not have a valid PR card, a record of landing, IMM 1000. Confirmation of permanent residence or verification of status. Details of the family of the person inviting you, including names and date of birth of spouse and any dependents. Finally, the total number of people living in the household inviting you, especially anyone who was sponsored for permanent residence in the past, or anyone currently being sponsored inland. Sample visa invitation letter for Canada. To whom it may concern. This is to certify that Fakey McNamington will be visiting me in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, from January the 1st, 2018 to February the 15th, 2018. Fakey has been a close personal friend of our family for my entire life and will be staying at my home for the duration of his stay. My address: 2558 Danforth Avenue, Suite 202, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, M4C 1L3. Telephone number 416-962-2623. I am a Canadian citizen. Please find attached a copy of my Ontario birth certificate. I live alone and have never sponsored anyone to Canada. Should you require any further information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Kind regards. Sign the letter. Name: Mr. Fakey McNamington. Address: 123 Street Name Avenue, Lagos, Nigeria. Date of birth: 1st of January 1960. Telephone number: 234-1234567. Relationship: family friend. Once this letter is written, it either needs to be sent to you directly or notarized first. Step 3. Does my invitation letter need to be notarized? You cannot know ahead of time whether or not the visa officer will ask to see a notarized invitation letter, but you can guess. It's better to be prepared and have the notarized copy ready to submit if requested. Better yet, submit it with your initial application. Here is a good rule of thumb. If you're required to submit biometrics as part of your visa application, the person who is invited to Canada should have their letter notarized before sending it to you. To see whether or not you need your biometrics, choose your country and age on this page. An IRCC will inform you whether or not you need to provide biometrics. You should also have your invitation letter notarized if you have ever had any trouble with Canadian authorities in the past. Step 4. Sending the invitation letter. The person inviting you to Canada should sign the letter to make it more official. After they've signed it, they can scan it and email the letter to you to avoid delays. Mailing is an option, but it is much slower. If your friend or family member in Canada does not have a scanner, they should either email you the letter without the signature or see if they know anyone with a scanner. Mailing should be a last resort because of how long it might take for the letter to arrive. Unfortunately, a notarized letter must be mailed. If your friend or family member in Canada has had their letter notarized, they should mail or courier the letter to you using a service which tracks the letter. They should not send it by regular mail, as they have had to spend money on the notary, and you do not want it to get lost. Submitting the invitation letter. If you're able, you should submit the invitation letter with your initial Canadian visa application. If you wait to submit an invitation letter until you are requested to submit one by the visa office, your application will be delayed. Audio Jungle.